Tonight is the culmination of the Agent 101 class. So we had all 9 weeks, which is absolutely amazing how time flies. It's just, I can't believe it's already the last session. And what's really neat is every session that we've been putting up has been getting more and more views, and even like today we got 2 new YouTube subscribers, and one of them was like, I love your content, please don't stop. You know, it's like, awesome, thank you, this is great, you know. So even if only 2 agents, 3, 4 come to the office, just like we were talking about last week, during the other 6 days when it's online and people can view it whenever they're free, we're getting 30, 40, 50 more views. And so it's just really neat.
Yeah.
That's
the power of the internet.
And at this point in time, I'm happy to say that we are getting, for every person that says take me off your list, we're getting at least 4 or 5 people saying thank you very much, don't stop, you know, you're doing awesome, we appreciate it. So this is exciting. So let's go ahead and let's do a quick summation of everything, because this is the beauty of real estate. The way you're going to do it and be successful is not the same way you've done it and been successful and are continuing to change it up.
Yeah, we're different personalities, we're different work habits, we're a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and there are 80,000 of us, let's say approximately 30,000 full-time or whatever you call it, like active, you know what I mean? And of those, I'm pretty sure there are, let's say, 19,000 different variations, because that other 10,000 are probably variations of a team, you know what I mean? And it's so, just sitting down and thinking about this list that I have, you can get into it at 18 years old and basically take 2 years to get good at something, and then move on, and then try something else and do that for 2 years, and then get really good at that. Even if you can't get really good at it, you know, 2 years, even in my, I don't think that that's enough time truly to really master stuff. But minimum 2-3 years, 2-3 years, 2-3 years, 2-3 years, and you will never run out of niches in our business. It's incredible. So, okay, so we started off, and the first class was kind of the basics, right? Get going. How are you going to generate business? But it was all based off of just the absolute basics, which is, let's call it what we call the tabletop, you know, tabletop method. So, generate leads, you know, from your database. Try to do open houses. Right now, you definitely need an internet presence, because that's where 90+% of leads come from today. And then what was that last spot? The 4th leg of the tabletop.
Well, besides the follow-up?
Well, your tabletop, it's made up of your database,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, because remember, you don't want all of your eggs in one basket. You want a sturdy table, right? So you've got your database. The other tried and true method, getting face-to-face with people, is what?
Is what?
What's the tried and true method of getting face-to-face with people in our business?
Open house.
Open houses. Starting day 1, you could just grab a bunch of signs, go to a listing, start doing open houses, right? Okay, then we said internet.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see.
Internet is where the majority of people come from today. It's where, you know, we're getting hundreds of leads a month. Okay, internet. So there's your 1, 2, 3 legs. Now what do we kind of just we hold back and just say, here's the 4th leg.
Farming.
Well, you can.
But your follow-up.
It's your niche. Whatever you want to do. You have to follow up with your database, you have to follow up with your open house, you have to follow up with your internet leads. Follow-up is a completely different thing that you have to do with everybody. But you can do these on just about anything.
Okay.
Let's say you want to do a business up in Black Canyon City, okay? And that's all you want to do, okay? Number one, is there enough business in Black Canyon City?
No. Oh,
There are. As long as there's about 50, 60 sales a year, your goal would be to, over the course of a whole marketing plan, in Black Canyon City, I would say you could probably get, let's say, a fifth.
okay.
I think
Uh-huh.
Black
Okay.
Canyon City is
You're
big
saying.
enough to need people, but you can't own it. But I think you can get a significant chunk if you try it.
Okay.
Kind of like Squaw Peak has had, just because they're located there, they will always have a significant presence in Black Canyon City.
And I have to say that breakthrough has definitely made a definite impression
Yeah.
at Black Canyon, because I mean, last year I think we had what, 8?
I don't know. I could look it up. Yeah. But if let's say they did 60 or 70 minimum there, then yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So niches,
Okay.
that's the fourth part. Okay. So, but we never circled back to this since day one. We brought it up, we mentioned it, but then we focused on doing the rest of it, right? So then the second part that we did was basically, now that you've got the basics of a business going, let's do the MLS, so that way you know how to set up portals and start helping people find homes, right? And then now that you've started helping people, now you're going to need your forms, because hopefully you're going to either be writing offers or getting listings or something like that,
Right.
right? And then after that, then we did the lending process,
Uh-huh.
so that way you could have a basics of that, and then we did escrow, okay? And then six was the buyers, right?
Yes, because then we did the.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the buyer contract and truly being able to represent a buyer, right? And then next we did sellers and truly how to have your selling plan, right? Your listing presentation, how you're going to sell it, everything. Then last week we did our odds and ends, right? Because that's where the fortune is not letting your boat be full of holes, because you're not going to get very far, right? So now, finally, and this is what I love, circling back to niches, okay? Because right off the bat, let's just create a list, okay? And I started one earlier, okay? So, very basic, right? Let's say single family homes. I just want to sell regular houses to whoever I can. All right? That's your average agent. Not much of a plan, but we'll take it. Okay? So we kind of blanket market to a little bit of everybody. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of agents can make a living off of it. Okay? But that's one tip of an iceberg. Okay? Let's throw out some other options. For example,
Multi-unit.
multifamilies. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Multifamily. All right. Also known as like apartments and stuff, right? Okay. Now, if you do that, you kind of work with investors oftentimes. Okay. So that's like another subcategory. All right. Now, multifamily is only one type of quote-unquote commercial. What are the other types of commercial properties that you can?
You have like the business, or I don't know what the term
Well,
is.
how would you break them down? Because an office.
Well, you have, in categories, it's office, retail,
Yep.
industrial or warehouse,
Yep.
and that pretty much, and of course you always have acquisition of property to put that stuff on.
Yep. Okay. Land. There's another one. And land can be commercial or residential. Yep. All right. Now here's where it gets really fun, because as you know, you have all of these here. You can break them down into two other categories. Sales and leasing. When it comes to commercial, leasing is a huge category of it.
And everything I've been involved in, I was involved with the leasing also.
There you go. Yeah. So.
And then even into property management, which I didn't
Property
want.
management.
I shunned property management for a long time. But my last client begged me to take it over.
Yeah. It's always good when you have people begging you to do business. That's a good position. You know, begrudgingly. Yeah, fine, I'll do it.
I really don't want to do that.
All right, so yeah, you got property management. Okay, so we're cooking. Let's see here. So we got single family here. Yep. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, let's keep going. There's much more.
More here?
Oh yeah. So let's break this down into categories of. There's so many different angles to look at it from. Categories of buyers, right? What's a really exciting category of buyer to be in? It's kind of frustrating too, because they're very eager, but they're also very ignorant.
You mean like the flip and fix, or are
Professional
you
people.
talking about?
Well, that's another investor, fix and flippers. Yeah, that's another one, okay? Right now, that's very popular. And you'll notice a lot of these may be popular today, may not be popular today, may come back around again someday.
A lot of professionals like doctors, dentists, and those people, they are tied into their profession, not into their management of their income or their.
Yeah, yep. But okay, so let's think outside investors now, okay? So that's what I was getting at. Everybody, if they're gonna buy a home, is at one point in time or another. It's their first time. Is a first-time buyer a category that you could specialize in? I work with first-time buyers, all my advertising, all this stuff, right? First-time buyer, that's a great one. A lot of it has to do with your marketing. Nobody tells you what niche you're in until you start marketing towards it. You know, I love, and I wish, I'm terrible with names, and I haven't seen their ads in a while, so I'm not even sure they're still around. But there were two ladies that basically their whole niche was selling churches. Okay? And if you actually looked, like you'd get their emails randomly, and they had like a nice little monopoly on churches. That's all they did. And that's at any time they'd have like 12 listings of churches. And churches aren't cheap.
No, they're not.
No, you sell 30 churches a year, you made a wonderful living. Yeah. Okay. So that's I'll just throw that down. Let's say churches. Okay. So that'll get you thinking about other stuff. All right. What's another niche? We happen to have a very popular one here in the West Valley. Well, actually, there's a couple different niches over there. You live in one? Retirement communities. Yes. How many agents do you think specialize in Pebble Creek, Sun City West, Portobello? You know, how many agents only work those communities?
Quite a few.
I only know of 2.
Yeah. But there's people, I mean, they make their whole living and career in that community. Basically. And they can make a great living. Same thing, Arrowhead.
It's true.
So, what do we want to call that? Arrowhead. I work
like
Seville.
Specialty,
I work
subdivision.
Estancia. Subdivision, community. Yep.
Say community. Huh?
Yep. Okay. I mean, there's so many niches. It's crazy. Now, if you're talking communities, not to jump ship over here too early, but communities. At one point in time, that community was brand new.
Okay.
It's a new subdivision.
Yeah.
New builds. New build agents.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. First time buyers, retirement communities. Now, new builds. Now, let's take it a different step, okay? And let's go back thinking among, like, churches, okay? What types of properties can somebody specialize in?
Well, you have, what do you call it? I guess it'd be the type of retail, but I mean, you know, like, what am I trying to
Well, a
think?
church usually is in a geographic area that there's housing.
Yeah.
And churches for zoning can be put on a residential lot.
Yeah, they get, there's basically just variances that they allow for them in almost any new community area, yeah.
Well, what did, as I was thinking, like of the shopping centers, you know,
Yeah, well, okay, I'm not so much worried about, I mean, and keep going if you actually think of something, but don't worry about where I'm going at with that, because There's so many different things. I'm more looking at, like right now, you have churches. That's a type of property. Let's say you have, oh man, I'm trying to give you hints without giving away because I want to
That's
expand
what
your
it's
mind
like,
to start
yeah.
thinking of them. Okay, think of larger pieces of land. What are all the different things people do with larger pieces of land?
They
Because
can subdivide them.
an acreage, okay,
Uh-huh.
acreage is one thing. Oops, there's no me there. Acreage is one thing, right? But acreage can be how many different types? It could be used for,
Well, you're looking at like somebody that wants to take, what is it, like 1.5 acres subdivided so that he can turn around and sell it for,
yeah, you're really in the development, which is cool. But yeah, that's more of the investment and that's development.
okay.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
you're talking about actually using it like to farm, like,
There's farmland.
okay.
Okay, and don't you think that that's a niche that if you wanted to get into, that you need to know something about it, the different types of farming, what can be used on the different land, the different types of expenses involved, how to run, just, those type of things. It's a whole subcategory that if you want to sell farmland, it's just a different thing, right? Okay, now if you get good at it, do we say, for example, up north, Buckeye, out west, down south, is there a lot of farmland in Arizona?
Yes,
Absolutely.
I think
And
we're
most of
losing.
that farmland is held for future other uses, you know.
And I think we're starting to lose
Yeah.
some of that.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Okay. Now, what's another thing that's very popular here in Arizona? That it can be another subcategory. It's not necessarily, we're not talking like official, this is a type of land or this is a type.
recreation of some sort?
It can be. Like, what are types of, what do a lot of people do out here?
Well, water, but I mean, a lot of like the dirt bike, or the racing,
Yeah, but that's not enough. In
No.
fact, that's a type of, but what about horse properties?
oh, okay, yeah.
Do you think that getting in with, if you want to have a niche with cow people,
Mm-hmm.
rodeo, equestrian, that's very big out here.
It is, definitely.
I mean, think about it. If you were the horse property expert at Deer Valley Baptist during the 90s, how would you have fared? Exactly.
Considering the population.
Exactly.
You remember Marty told us about this gal that she knows that bought a $60,000 trailer for a write-off?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Works at, yes.
And she
yes.
works horses,
Mhm.
horse
Alright.
properties.
Now, absolutely, I know most horse properties aren't necessarily the cheapest properties.
No.
No. Especially if they're all done up with the corrals and stalls and everything already. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, especially if they're irrigated too. Whew, yeah.
Yep.
So, okay. So now let's take it back even more generic because I'm surprised we should have hit on this first. Okay, when you get your license, they flat out tell you that you can do this. Okay, and there's a couple of these. You can sell property, buy and sell property, right? But what are some of the most annoying people in the world that we hate to be associated with? But they're technically realtors.
What do you call it, new build salespeople.
Well, it's a kind of variation of that, but they're also timeshare. What are they?
Oh, boo, boo, boo.
Right? They're realtors. That's a niche.
Really?
That's how Nate got his start, actually. He sold timeshares in Sedona.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. If you can get good and if you can hang with timeshares for more than like 2 or 3 years, there's a really good chance you can make it almost anywhere. Yeah. Okay. So that's one. Okay. What's another one? That's not probably. It's probably. I don't know. I don't know how anybody would necessarily get into this niche. I'd be interested in talking to somebody. But
Like the foreclosures, the.
ooh, yes.
What do you call it?
Short
Where
sale?
they go, well, no.
Well, that's
no,
another
no,
one
but
too.
that's
Bank on
another one.
homes.
But this is where you go out and you help appraise or determine.
BPOs.
Market.
Yeah.
Yeah. BPO is another thing that you can do, absolutely. Right? So you got bank-owned homes. That's another niche, getting in with the banks. Absolutely, foreclosures. Okay. Now, what's a pre-foreclosure niche that actually Dad and I were very good at for several years?
Short sales.
Absolutely.
And
Right?
then that also brings up, you talk about a niche, if you're looking at like divorce, so.
See now you're on it. Right on.
All right, now
Yep.
I'm getting it. Now, what is BPO?
Broker price opinion.
Oh, broker.
Okay, divorce. Now, divorce, you're really not helping the divorce. You're actually in with who?
They're lawyers.
The attorneys. Exactly, right? Now, attorneys are kind of, that's who you really want to, to same kind of, okay, hold on, let me circle back, remind me to come back to this, okay? Before I forget, we were up at the timeshares, and there was one other thing here along with timeshares that it's not the most positive thing that we realtors sell.
Cemetery?
There you go, cemetery plots. Ash. Alright, so this is called that 19.
And you have to be an agent to do that?
You're selling land on a permanent basis. Yeah. You own that land. If you think about it.
Okay.
I mean, when did Grandma, Grandpa, and Aunt Karen, and they've owned that land for how long now?
Yeah.
And my aunt bought, was it the same plot next door to Grandma, Grandpa?
I think so.
Yeah. So.
Me,
Yep.
I'm just gonna have him carry me around.
Yeah. Have him carry you?
So, all right. So when it comes to cemeteries, cemetery plots, timeshares, those are like the kind of oddballs that in the real estate world. Yeah. Okay. So let's come back to here. Okay. So we have timeshares. Now, not timeshare. Sorry, divorce, which is really attorneys, which is really our version of business to business, right? Now, thinking along the lines of business to business, what doors are open there?
Well, number one, not only because of the attorney, and the possible client, but the relationship with the attorney because of his associates in his business, not to mention word of mouth,
Yeah, so that's the attorney, okay? But what other business can we partner up with? Because, for example, divorce attorneys, number one, okay, so what's a different type of attorney?
Trust
Or, was it?
Trust.
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
Trust
yes,
stuff,
yes.
exactly, right? So you have estate type things, trust things, right? So that can be done by either a lawyer or oftentimes it may be some, well, not necessarily insurance people, but any financial planner type world, I guess you could say. All of those we can partner with because they're doing the trust, they're doing the estates, they're doing the investing, they're doing all kinds of stuff. So anybody in the financial planner world is a great B2B contact, right?
This is Charlotte.
Okay, so what's another? Because, okay, so you have attorneys, financial planners, all right?
Yes.
What are-
Yes,
Well,
I think you were asking about
sometimes when
26th Street?
people pass away, they don't have a trust.
Yes, are you
But
still
they have to
interested?
probate the will.
Yeah.
So that still comes back into attorneys.
Yep, exactly. Estate, probate, anything associated with that type of thing, okay? So that's where lawyers, right? And then if we get them with the business, with the financial planners on top of lawyers, right? That's where we can get them beyond just that one little aspect, potentially help them invest, plan different things. Eventually, if they're planning on moving, doing their final sale where they're moving down, oftentimes they're going to be investing a large chunk into something else.
Right.
So there's a big thing to getting in with like the insurance, financial planner, attorney
That sounds
ballpark. That's like the biggest B2B business to business referral that we have, next to like lenders basically, right? But they're not the only businesses we could partner with. For example, a few years ago, State Farm opened up a huge thing over here in Tempe. And when they did that, a lot of people got displaced from other states to Arizona. In other words, they relocated.
Even military.
There you go. See, that's what I was looking for earlier. Perfect. In the West Valley, you have the retirement community, you have Luke. Both of those are huge. If you're in with the military, what kind of niche, what kind of referral basis is the military? They're coming and going all the time. They typically stay 2 to 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Some buy homes, a lot of them rent. No matter what, it is a great, and you have thousands of people.
A lot of movement.
Yes. Getting in with the military, getting in with any base, even if you're over here at like Davis, even if you get in with Sky Harbor, there's still a lot of stuff pertaining to any of those fields, but especially Luke over here in the West Valley.
True.
Absolutely. Okay, so military. Now, there's a lot of very powerful niches, not niches, but sectors of business here in the valley. For example, if you really target it, okay, let's say you went back to the nurses and really hit their emails and said, hey, this is my new business, I want to help you, and if you guys use me, I'm going to donate it back to whatever your cause might be, right? How many people do that with vets? How many people do that with teachers? How many people do that with fire department,
So can we call
police
it like
department?
a specialty?
Any of your, what do you want to call those fields? The medical field, the military field, the police field, the fire department, what are they called? The public service?
First responders.
First responders, there you go. Any of those, right? Wonderful niche. And especially if you're one of them, it makes sense, right? Mom, you were a nurse. Totally makes sense.
That's true.
That's why I couldn't believe that how many people come from certain backgrounds and don't utilize those because they have a bond that nobody else has. They trust each other like nobody else does. They have each other's back like, I mean, even though you're retired, you're never going to stop being that. Just like a Marine, always Marine.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, so to come back to the military, then you got your first responders, those niches, any past, if you were something for a long time, use it, you know. Jillian her and her man worked at Fry's for years. Do you know how they've tapped Fry's? You know, and there's how many of them around the valley, how many different employees, and they're tapping it. How neat is that, right?
That's true.
Okay.
I never thought about it.
Okay, so a while ago State Farm came. I think at that moment they brought in, and I might be completely wrong, but I think it was like 1,200 people moved to the valley in that one move from State Farm. State Farm helped them pay for their movers, did everything. They helped buy, they basically brought in a company to guarantee the sale of their home so they can move here. It was one of the coolest things ever. I was fortunate to get 3 of them.
I want to relocate with a phone company.
There you go. See? They still happen. And I was fortunate enough to find 3 of them. But I was a small fish in that State Farm pond. There were several people who probably sold 50, 60 homes, I'd imagine, from that one act, from that one business. And relocation companies getting in, there's relocation companies, okay? So, and I know there's some around the valley specifically that's all they do is help companies relocate. And they coordinate all the details. Get in with them. Relocation to Phoenix ties right in with Marty. How many businesses are coming here? How many people are moving here? Okay?
That's true.
How many things are going up in the West Valley, in the South Valley, you know, downtown? She mentioned how many different things are coming in. How many jobs is that going to create?
Can you imagine what's going to happen there in Tonopah when
Exactly.
Gates, when
And
that
it already has exploded.
Yeah. Wow.
You have Walmart,
Never thought about
you have Amazon, you have State Farm, you have who's a couple of the other big companies that you wouldn't think? There's the big tire company down there on the outskirts. Is it Firestone? That is a big thing out
Who
here.
was it that?
Are you talking about the warehousing that's gone in down there?
No, some businesses that are relocating
Yeah,
here.
but there's the actual tire company has the big proving ground, and they actually employ a larger number of people than you'd think, and they do a lot of like
Goodyear or
trucking.
Firestone?
I think it's Firestone. I'm not positive though. But yeah, I mean, if you go down just go down south of I-10 and start, you know, basically head baseline or southern and just watch the businesses on either side.
Well, you know, the big building up on I-17, what is it, USAA? I think they're getting ready to.
That's a entrance, isn't it?
USAA is right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Right next to
And
where Barbie
they're
store.
getting ready to open that up, right there, at Happy Valley.
Oh, you have that State Farm building is right there, but
But
USAA
on the
has
other
been there for
side,
a while too.
Yeah, and
Did they
they're
move?
now, yeah, because
Okay.
they rebuilt, they have their entire office structure there.
Well, I remember, like, what was it, about 8 years ago or whatever, when they first, was it 8 years ago or so, when they
Well,
first
they're
started doing their other
They're
one?
now advertising
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
because they have daycare, they have all kinds of stuff. They have a gym there. I mean, it's a whole thing.
It is, yeah.
I think it's its own community.
It really is. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
okay.
I'm not a huge fan because they try to steal people from us.
Yes.
USAA, they're great lenders, but when it comes to military, they definitely have some pull, and that's kind of the point. Is when you're in with those groups, they'll do whatever you tell them to.
Is that
I've
what
had
happens
certain
when?
ones-
Go ahead,
What?
I'm sorry. Because I had a lead come in, and he was a vet, and thought that he could just like kind of go to any bank, but he got in with Navy Federal, and I guess they have
They
their
told them
niche
to
of
use their
agents. Yeah.
exactly, and that is what they do, and it's not valid. I mean, there's no real point behind it. It doesn't really mean anything, but that's what they do. Since it's their referral network, that's what they do. And USAA has done the same thing. Oh, in order to use this loan, you have to use a VA-approved person. It's not, and I've actually caught them lying to people, telling them that exact thing. You have to use a VA-approved realtor. I was like, excuse me, what's a VA-approved realtor?
I think you're just
didn't know
on
that
the
existed.
list. Yeah.
Is that a credential?
And that, yes, the credential of the people who are willing to pay USAA to be on their list. That's what that is.
That's what I think, yeah, I think that's what's at with Navy Federal.
I'm not saying they do it anymore, but they have been known to definitely steer people.
Well, Navy Federal specifically told them
Yeah,
that
and
we have our own agents.
I hate to say VA is they're the only ones that do it. If they're getting a VA loan from any particular place, that place is the only place that's going to have an opinion. Bank of America, they have a minor opinion maybe. Bank of America doesn't really care. Wells Fargo doesn't care.
No,
But
no.
USAA, any of those, they do. They have an opinion. Yeah. And so make sure they know that we have a military background. If they know we have a military background, we got all the cred too. It's silly, yeah. Okay, so relo, huge, okay? And whether it's the company, itself, the relocation company, or get in with the bigger companies around town that are known to be nationwide that have people coming back and forth. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so, here's another great niche. And it's one of those, would you rather work, well, you should work hard and smart, but for those who can work very smart, how about this for a niche? What number am I on? I don't know. I think 21?
You're 21,
So
so
22?
22.
How about $1 million plus homes? Is that its own little niche?
They're all over the place now.
Yeah.
Didn't used to be, but they are.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's kind of creeping up. You know, it used to be $1 million. Now it's like $2 million. Now, now in Phoenix or now in LA, it's like it's got to be $10 million or more for it to be like, whoa, it's crazy. But $1 million plus, not everybody can get into them. Not everybody knows them. But once you get in, that's a wonderful niche to be in. Sell 10 homes at $200,000 or 10 homes at $2 million. Right?
Yeah, excellent.
So, okay, bank-owned homes. That is a huge one that was big back in the day,
Yes.
right? But was it the bank the person was in, or did they have a relationship with somebody else or something else?
Back then,
Yep.
now are you talking about,
Oops, 23.
Are we talking about foreclosures?
We are. And when it goes into foreclosure, when the home gets foreclosed on,
It goes into bank assets.
it is. And who handles those? It's a
There's an asset manager.
asset management company. Exactly. Okay? And it wasn't the people who came in after the fact that got all the stuff. It was the people who had the relationship with the asset managers up front that started getting fed all the prime stuff before it got all saturated and everything. So, as Warren Buffett if it says not till the tide goes up, they see you swimming naked, get in with the asset managers while the going's still good. Before, and then it's prime. And that's what I'm kind of getting at with these last couple that we're really going to touch on.
It's not only banks, it's credit unions too.
Yep. Yeah. Anybody who handles mortgages. Whoever, every one of them, as much as I hate to say it, it might not be a huge part, but out of 1,000 people, as much as we hate to say it, there's probably 1 or 2 people that have come across some sort of hardship that's making them need to do something with the property, right? And getting in, and it's probably one of the smaller banks too that you have a better chance of getting in and having a one-on-one conversation.
That's true, because it's a little more friendly.
Yeah, unless you have the money to fly to Chicago and try to woo some billion-dollar, people.
There's a direct staff employee of that financial institution that is in charge of the assets, whether they hire an asset manager to take care of it or not. There's a staff person in that organization that oversees it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Okay. So now let's go into the next part, and that was, did I actually write it down? Yeah, short sales. Okay. So short sales is the other one, where if you start, and this is the perfect segue, advertising. Okay. When it came to, let's say, who started it? Let's say, oh man, I'm having a hard time pinpointing because they just kind of happened, right? When did you really start hearing, back in the fall of the market, about short sales? Okay, because eventually Russell Shaw brought it into like his radio stuff, where the short sale experts,
I'm going to say about 2008, 2009, because just before we lost our home there on Janet.
Yeah. Was there anybody in particular that you heard of, or that was going to be the go-to person as far as having a short sale done?
I have to honestly say no. Because that was not, that wasn't where I was.
Nobody thought about it this way. So why is it that right now you have companies like Open Door, you have companies like that who are making a huge thing about those type of sales, but nobody actually made a business, it was just like a thing. It was really interesting how you started hearing people advertise, we're the experts, we're the experts, we're the experts, but it didn't actually...
Is it possible, because actually looking back on it, I think it snowballed and people weren't prepared.
Could be.
For the amount, and that's why I'm the expert, because I know when Dad specifically went for training, and there were certain things that you specifically looked for,
Yeah.
but why he could say that he was a distressed property expert.
It was interesting because I think it was Stacy Priest who mentioned the word to me the first time.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I don't know what to do in this situation. These people want to sell, but they owe more than what they can sell for. And she's like, well, that's called a short sale. And once she told me that was doable, it was like, this is what we have to do.
Yeah.
And that's when I called you and I called Dad, and I was like, come
on.
on. Yeah, exactly. And that's technically what got Dad started, because you started helping me and then he took over, and yeah. And the market changed, we saw the opening, and we kind of jumped on it. And then as it dried up, we've moved on. Mm-hmm. Right now, agents are in a very unique position where there really is no bad place right now.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can take advantage of this market, no matter what, as we change, and if we start going back down, you may or may not already be in a position to be the expert at that moment, right? I'm not predicting anything bad, but I definitely see value in covering your bases. Right now, you can do several different things. Like, let's throw it out to you, okay? For example, do you want to, if you wanted to, you can tackle your little area, 3 streets, 4 streets, whatever. You could tackle your woodworking, I'm the woodworking guy, like, you guys, you're my peeps, let me know. You just, one day you walk in and decide, I'm gonna own this. As an agent, it's the same thing. A farm, is it not picking a niche? This is the area and I'm gonna own it. This is my business. You are now entering my business territory. It's as simple as deciding. And then figuring out the plan to do it. I can't tell a person how to become the go-to rodeo person, but that lady taking her trailer and ready to help people at any moment and having her office based out of that, brilliant.
It was. I thought that was just, not only that, she got to write the darn thing off.
Absolutely.
Part of her business.
Well,
Right.
is this where
The Western
looking at all of
Yeah.
these areas, it's like, what do you see yourself kind of gravitating towards?
Do you love golf? Focus on golf course communities. Do you love boating? I specialize on every community that allows boats here in the valley. There's so many niches. Go to the marina, boom, I'm your boater realtor. I am sure there's people that specialize in houseboats. I'm not doubting that. But if you want waterfront property, I'm your expert. What else? There's so many. Manufactured homes. I'm the manufactured home expert. If it has a well, call me.
And again, whether you specialize like in a rural area or if it's more of, in the city too. But, that's kind of the same thing. I guess.
Exactly.
Like canyons.
Are you the downtown expert? Are you the historical property expert?
Yeah.
Are you the, what's the, oh man, I forgot it. Hallcraft. I'm the Hallcraft expert.
I bought a couple of those. That was our first townhome.
Was it?
We in 1975 spent $17,000 on a Hallcraft townhome.
Yeah.
2-bedroom, 1-bed.
Yep. I'm the expert at anything Del Webb,
Yeah.
it can be,
Yeah.
there are a bunch of them. And so, for the last 20 minutes or so, that's what I wanted to kind of jump into is really kind of, any niche is going to have its own subtle differences that you're going to have to do. But it's all about creating the brand. What's your niche? Sell Sun City, whatever your niche is, your card, your website, your picture. If you're going for the Western look, make sure your picture is Westerny. If you're going for the leisure, active adult, don't wear a suit. Wear your stuff. That's perfect. I had people that were snowbirds. There you go. Here's another one. I was helping snowbirds, and I picked them up at the airport, and thank God things lined up. I was wearing shorts and a polo that day.
Casual. Yeah.
Yep. And they flat out said that if I was wearing a suit when they showed up, they were going to turn around. Because they were here for a vacation home and they wanted a vacation person.
Well, today's the day, because I think it hit 80.
Yeah.
Oh, it was nice.
Oh, that was back in the day of bank-owned homes and stuff, so there was pretty much no way I was going to show up in anything but shorts at that moment. But it worked out perfect, right?
Yeah.
Fit your community. If you are, on the flip side, if you are helping multi-million-dollar people, you probably should wear a suit.
Or at least wear the jewelry and stuff.
There you go. At least get the bling. Yes.
Yeah, and then I'll rent the limo.
So, I'm sure you've taken a look at all of these, and what was cool is that with the him coming in last week, Brett.
Yeah, Brett will.
Yeah. I updated all my
Put
MLS
it
stuff.
back.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Thank you. Okay, so one of the neat things. One of the
How
neat
did you
things.
get that in there?
I honestly think I accidentally bought a Spanish one. I didn't touch anything. I plugged it in and it worked.
That's the way it came up. Huh?
Exactly. So I don't know.
Well, it's close enough that you have an idea of what
If
you're
you ever
saying.
want to
Well,
do it in
fortunately, I
English-
didn't have to press anything. Otherwise, it might not have worked out as well. Okay, so one of the greatest things about the MLS is how it allows us to look at different variations of
Yeah.
things, okay? So right off the bat, I didn't realize how many niches there were up front, okay? So for example, residential, that's a niche, and that's a bunch of niches right there, right? You have residential rental, that's a niche. Lands and lots, another niche.
Commercial and industrial.
Commercial industrial for sale,
or lease.
and then you have your lease, right? You have your multiple dwellings, which is another name for multi-unit. Okay? Now, business opportunity. This was interesting. And you have, this is another niche. And it's not necessarily just a real estate niche. This is it's a niche.
Yeah, because you don't need a real estate license to sell the business, but if the real estate's involved, you do.
Exactly. So, here you've got businesses for sale. So here's one in Black Canyon City. What is this?
What is it?
It's a farmer's market. Whose is it?
Farmers market?
Oh, you know where Rock Springs is? The building next door
Oh,
that had
that.
all of the market stuff? Because I recognize the
Yeah.
inside.
Ah.
I thought that was part of Rock Springs.
Rock Springs? No, it's like at least another guy.
They are totally remodeling it.
Yeah, it's
Now,
paying
this
$1,600 a
is
month lease.
interesting because there is, you know, that A-frame that the artists are showing stuff. They moved the farming stuff over to where that block building
Over on the
is.
south side.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that hasn't been
Location,
very long
location.
ago they did
All right,
that.
just out of curiosity, who's marketing it?
Lloyd
Lloyd
Ryan,
Ryan.
ProSmart Realty.
It'd be a business op guy that, they're selling the business, or are they gonna lease the,
Well, it says, do not disturb, it's 125,000 inventory.
Yeah, no, he's just selling the building. With the I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so he actually has, okay, so this is an actual one, and then he's actually renting out the other stuff. Interesting.
I wouldn't think Rock Springs would have sold that.
I thought that would, that
You know,
just
the people that
really
run Rock Springs
surprised me.
Restaurant may not own it anyway. They could be leasing that,
Well, to my knowledge, the new owner, that's a good question, but I really thought he bought,
Well,
The
again,
building,
just
but
like Black
that's
Canyon
good,
City,
yeah.
there's no assessor number for this property. So yeah, you'll just need to call them to find out because it includes the
No
property, it includes the inventory. So he's, in this case, he's selling the building, he's selling the business, he's selling the inventory, he's selling the whole shebang. But it
one
looks like
full-time employee,
there's also a
part-time.
lease involved too, because his monthly lease payment is $1,600. So he might actually be renting from
Well,
Rock
when you go down,
Springs,
so scroll down just a tad,
and he might just be selling the business.
because
more likely that's what it is.
Yeah.
annual owner's salary.
It says net income is
24,
82.
Value 50, that's interesting,
Yeah.
leasehold improvement.
Annual cost of goods. See, and this is basically he's selling a retail business or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. So, okay, but moving on. Just to show a lot of examples of the different things. And each one of these is almost a sub-niche. And if you're interested in them, wonderful. Seek out somebody that has experience in them. Have them hopefully take you under their wing and learn the ins and outs and then run with it. That was what I basically had to do with multi-units. That's, I'm sure, how you got into the commercial side was from somebody else who shared their knowledge with you, right?
Yep.
Exactly. So here's a pizza business. Wickenburg Pizza Company. All right. So let's see. This one, Antler Cafe Bar. Neat. So restaurants. That's another kind of cool niche. Yeah. Let's see. What's this? Bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hospitality. That's a whole other thing. Yes. Yeah. Hotels and things of that nature. Yeah.
Say hospitality.
Yeah, that was one of Matt's best clients at Men's Warehouse.
Yeah.
He owned a bunch of Days Inns. He had like, here in the valley, he owned like 3 or 4, and then he owned several around other places too.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
what's this? Biohazard business.
Really?
Well-established business, multi-sale business with primary focus,
Where you
high
at on
margins.
that?
One of the very few in the industry in the top 1%. Huge continued growth potential and is prepared to continue long-term as a consultant. His needs based after 1 year. For the right person, seller will finance. So this doesn't appear to even have a location. This is just a book of business he's selling.
No, where's that at?
It's not. That's
Oh,
the thing.
okay.
It's just a book of business he's
It's not
selling.
a physical location.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm wondering where you're reading from, so.
Yeah, I was just reading.
Insurance agents build their own book.
Yep.
That's why a lot of them are independent, because the book goes back to the company if it's not independent.
True. So what's that 1,199,000?
This one is
Yeah.
this is the bed and breakfast.
Yeah, no. Well, that's a pizza place.
No, this is bed and breakfast. Here's Antler Place. Here's the pizza business. Yeah, the Ramsey Canyon is the bed and breakfast. World famous Ramsey Canyon
Oh,
Inn.
okay. Click on that if you don't mind.
Which one?
Ramsey.
That's wrong.
Oh.
Oh. That's so weird. You're not seeing the same thing I am.
No, certainly you're not.
Yeah, I'm scrolling here. Like you're seeing my mouse, but for some reason the screen's not updating. That's so weird.
It's been busted today.
That's because you connect them.
Weird.
All right.
Yeah, let me see if I could.
Reconnect.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
disconnect and reconnect it and
Yeah.
see if that works.
Where's Hereford? Hereford.
Hereford,
Yeah, where is that?
Texas.
No, where's Hereford, Arizona? See where that Ramsey one says it's in Hereford,
Yeah.
Arizona?
We'll
Where-
map it when we come back in.
Okay. I don't know where it's at. All right, I like how it says set up, you know, action has to be put into set up.
That's funny.
Alright, guys. Cool. Okay, oops, wrong button. Okay, so
Excuse me.
here we go.
Okay.
Sierra Vista. So isn't that Delma Tucson?
Oh, yes, yes. that's-
Sierra Vista
uh-huh.
is southeast
Yeah.
of Tucson, yeah.
Fort Huachuca,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fort
But this
Huachuca.
is building square feet 6,258 square feet. Land 435,600 square feet. That's a nice little piece of land.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
There you go, Mom. This is the
Successful.
hummingbird capital of the USA. There you go, Mom.
I
It was
gotta
meant
go
for you.
there. Yeah.
Have you been down in that area?
Wow.
We used to live in Douglas.
Oh, you did?
So,
Oh, yeah, you were
yeah,
close.
yeah.
But here, you can tell just from the pictures kind of the variety here. So you got
And there's a
restaurants.
Christian camp over by Sierra Vista in Fort Huachuca.
Oh, okay.
Alright, here you go.
Holy cow.
But here's the equestrian place over there in Surprise.
Yeah.
Yep. And then here's the same listing but different. And then the U Pick Orchard. Yeah, that's all the same property there. Where are you? Assisted living facility? Yeah. So you can see that there's a lot of different niches.
Yes, yes.
Landscaping business. I'm assuming it's a tux rental business. Clothing store.
Clothing store.
One man, if you are looking for a one-man operation clothing store that does a great business, there you go.
With a ton of cash clients and strong revenue. That's interesting.
So opportunity makes money in absence.
Is that a gas station?
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder where that one's at.
For it to be that cheap.
Mom and pop thing, huh?
Yeah, for it to be that cheap.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, Yeah, there's lots of other niches involved. Okay, so when it comes to business opportunity, that was the other one I wanted to mention. But let's point out something so you can come back and actually start thinking of where you might want to. Okay, so you obviously have subdivisions. Any subdivision, any community to come in, be the expert in that area, that neighborhood, whatever. That one's a given, right? That's what we teach right off the bat. Okay, but when it comes to, for example, let's say property use, property description. Here we go. Okay. So, for example,
All right, once again.
golf course lot.
Yep.
Is that a niche?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Waterfront lot.
Yep. Those-
Definitely. Right. When it comes to historic homes, could that be
Yeah.
another niche?
Oh, yeah.
That would be a really cool niche, right? And then if you want to, then you could do, for example, like acreage, horse properties, right? So under general property description, there's a lot of different things that you might trigger your mind to actually think of something that you might not have thought of previously. So like under general property description, why aren't you letting me click it? There we go. Well, community features is one. Let's see here. Okay, so let's see here. Golf, horse facility, tennis facility. Oh, airports. There's that one community that has the airport access and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple other communities out there that have like there's racquetball / tennis facilities out there. Different sports facilities like that are kind of associated with those. Let's see, any other thoughts, ideas that we might have missed?
I suppose we could just take any of these, when you look at the hospitality and break that down even more, but even the businesses, if you want, like food, if you wanted like the type of retail, if you wanted gas station, yeah, those in itself.
What about things like schools, for example? Like how many people relocate, for example, Grand Canyon or
Yeah.
come to ASU, different things like that.
Yep.
And they have to provide housing for a lot of people actually. Places that have guest speakers, lots of things like that. So there's so many great niches. And that's part of the funnest. It's one of the greatest times I'll always look back in my life. Living at our house, and same house was where I was studying to take my test. So I was literally driving from 47th over to Scottsdale, take my test, for class and come back. And every night I would, and this is before we tiled the floor, so it was still the old carpet, but I would be laying on the floor, just reading my book, taking notes, making sure I created my business plan. And then go to school the next day, they'd learn something new. It's like, oh, okay, so now I can apply this. And so started creating, formulating my plan. And then read Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it's like, well, you need to do this, this, and this. It's like, okay, cool. So I could start farming. I could do this. I could create a newsletter and become my expert here. And then as they started giving me more and more ideas, it became more and more apparent. It's like, okay, I'm going to create my tagline. So I spent like a day or two thinking, okay, what do I want to do? Real estate services with heart. And then that's when Brina came back with, it takes hands to build a house. It's like, oh, that's perfect. And so that kind of started creating the direction we were going to go, right? And then after I read Millionaire Real Estate Agent, next thing you had was Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And then that's when I was like, investing, property management. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to take this. And so, because that was where the more homework I did, it's like, well, why do most realtors not retire? Because they didn't save any money and they didn't find any way of residual income and they didn't plan for their future. So that was my main thing. From the very moment I got into business, it's like, what's our exit? That was, hate to say it, but the start was the exit. But that created the plan.
Yeah.
And I knew that, okay, do I want to buy a bunch of property? Yeah, probably. Do I want to own a bunch of property? Yeah, probably. But what is the business that's going to pay us back time and time again, no matter the market, yada, 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 yada. And investors buy more properties than most people. Oh, that works too, you know? So it really, really made sense. And then the fact that Dad has owned property and you guys, we've managed property basically my whole life. It all just added up, and it's like, well, this is the niche that was like made for us, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's how I found mine. I wish I could say I deliberately had this master plan 10 years ago, but no, it just
It evolved.
Yeah, and it worked, and it was the way that every agent should go into business. You know, you might not like being a leasing agent. No problem. Try something new. You know, I hate dealing with sellers. Work with buyers. Hate working with buyers, work with sellers. You know, I hate first-time buyers. Great, work with move-up. You know, I don't like working with move-up people. I'd rather work with retirees downsizing. Perfect, there you go. You know, that's so absolutely wonderful.
That's true, because when I started out as a nurse, I never realized how much I would love pediatrics. But it took me almost 20 years before 12 years, 11 years, before I found what I absolutely loved in nursing. And so it's the same thing here. It's like, you know, if you dabble a little bit, but you still find yourself going back to, you know, like, for example, the investors.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's awesome. What actually got you into commercial, as opposed to, you know, why did you,
Yeah.
as opposed to residential or any other field?
It was a relationship with a developer.
Is that what got you to get your real estate license to begin with?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So did they coerce you to leave the company, like what you said, the phone company, or
Yeah.
you properly retired first and then decided to get in?
Once I decided to go into real estate, then that evolved to an early retirement. And I had my license before my retirement date took effect.
Nice. Cool.
And,
All right.
I didn't know anything.
So did that guy, did he actually like sit down and say, you'd be great at this, or was it something that you kind of liked what he was doing and you're like, tell me more about that, or?
He didn't really help me out. He really
Know
didn't.
that feeling, yeah.
But the people he had working with him, that's where I buddied up with, and I learned how to do it.
So is that what led you to that, like his brokerage, or?
Well, he owned the brokerage, and he had a broker. He wasn't a broker, but he had a broker. And I worked under that broker at first. But I learned how to evaluate a development and what was necessary. So I tell everybody, if they're going to work commercial, learn the leasing part of it. The leasing part is the most important part of an investment. If you're, you know, because that's what makes it work.
Yeah.
That's what makes the cash flow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it makes the brilliant part about the Walmart business plan, how they come in there, buy the land so cheap, and then once they become the anchor tenant, that land and that area becomes very valuable and very desirable for other people. And so their whole marketing plan, not marketing plan, but their whole development plan, how they come in and just do whole shopping centers. I mean, the whole complexes.
When I first came and got into this business, Walgreens was always an anchor in a center.
They're the first ones always.
Yeah, you know, when you landed your anchor tenant, then you were able to bring in other smaller tenants because of that anchor.
Yeah.
Well, they found out that they weren't getting the best deal that they could possibly get. That's why they started building the standalone Walgreens.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to do it, but they are always the first place anywhere.
And CVS
That's
is now
very
too.
true,
Yeah.
because you go, and what is coming around here?
Exactly.
But
You know?
those investments, those buildings were sold off to investors at a very low rate of return, but they were such a solid 15, 20-year lease. And they returned 4.5%, 5%, and people were locking into them because of the credibility of them.
That's true, that's
Yeah.
true.
Because that's what, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Walmart, because they were such like the anchor tenant, basically.
Most of the time.
They would be able to go anywhere, build a whole complex, as in put a Walmart there with a whole people around it, and then they would turn around and once it was basically developed and everything went up, then they would turn around and actually sell it and get like a prime lease rate back, because the property value had just like quadrupled because Walmart was now the anchor
It's
tenant.
interesting, because isn't it something how that Payless, all these years, is going out of business?
Yeah.
And then you wonder why.
Yeah, but look at
Because
their
whoever-
market though.
That's what I was saying,
Their
somebody.
market went online.
Well, that, and I think, I hate to say it, but them going into a mall was not ideal.
And obviously whoever was doing the marketing wasn't able to foresee kind of what the needs of the people were going to be, and kind of stuck them. And I think
Now,
that's where
whoever
they
thought
lost
Sears
some.
would have got into trouble, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
true, Sears and Pennies and, yeah,
Yeah.
Where's Montgomery Ward's now?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
true.
Sears is my example of why, like, especially to equate it to our company, you always have to be on the attack. You have to protect yourself, yes, in the process, but you have to be forecasting the future and attacking to keep ground, but to continuously be growing.
That's true.
That's right.
Once they started minimizing their losses, it's just been a slow, terrible death. The moment they stopped attacking, like basically the moment they stopped their catalog and they stopped attacking business and growth, it's been terrible. It's hard to watch. It's sad, And for us as a real estate brokerage, it's the same law of attrition. It is a dog-eat-dog world, and if we're not going to attack and grow, there are 1,000 other companies that will, and we will get sucked out of business.
I lived in the country growing up, and we looked forward to the annual Montgomery Ward's and Sears catalogs.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
We would spend hours looking for those
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah. Well, having Grandpa at Sears, like that was always, now will forever be that special place in my heart.
Yep.
I loved going in there and visiting him and his little
That was
the
Dad's
section.
first job, so.
Yeah. And he sold the
He was in the
tractors
appliance
and yeah. And so we'd always sit in
Small
there.
equipment, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd always sit on the tractors, while he was doing his thing and everything, and it was just wonderful. And same thing with, fortunately they made a comeback, but I'm not sure how strong. But JCPenney, that was when they were kind of going through their transition. That would have just been sad too, because that's the other kind of.
These are family businesses that started, but.
Well, and the
I guess
JCPenney
look
there in
at-
Palmdale,
yeah.
or was it Lancaster? The one that actually went downstairs to get into.
I thought it was the one over there on Sierra Highway.
I always get that area confused because it goes from Palmdale to Lancaster-ish, and so I'm never
I
sure.
don't know if you've ever lived in a community like this, but in Trinidad, Colorado, which was very small, we had each in a two-story building, and the clerks were down on the bottom, you shop at the bottom. But they had that thing they had a central cashier. And they would send the ticket with the money up to that location by some kind of a pulley thing.
Yes,
You remember that?
yes.
Yeah, it was real neat. The clerk himself, they didn't transact the change for the money.
Really?
They send the ticket and the money up to that one location, They did it there, and then they send back the change.
Oh, gosh, guys. All right, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.